Welcome back, everybody. The city of Austin faced one notable challenge after another during the 8 years Steve Adler served as mayor. From the COVID pandemic to racial justice protests, questions over the future of policing to fights over housing affordability and homelessness. Adler wrote about all of it in his new memoir, offering some of the lessons he learned during immense pressure and scrutiny. That book is called The Hot Seat, Hot City, the Austin Mayor's Story. And joining us now to talk more about it is Steve Adler. Mr. Mayor, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for inviting me on.
Just to remind people out there, you served as mayor from 2015 to 2023, and you opened your new book with a tragedy that happened 3 years into that tenure. We're, of course, talking about the serial bombing that killed 2 people and injured 4 others back in 2018. So how did that experience and really the terror that so many felt during that time lead to opening the door about what you wanted to discuss in this book?
Well, I think that one of the reasons I wrote this book was that I get asked a lot of questions by people asking what it was like to be mayor, what happens behind the scenes. There's no instruction book when you get elected to be mayor, and you find yourself in a lot of situations that are new and novel, and certainly during those 8 years we did. I opened with a description of that anonymous bomber incident because that typified that. An unusual circumstance. It was something that was incredibly disruptive in our community. And I take the reader kind of behind the scenes for how that developed, the thought process that I went through. Fortunately, that ended well for the community, but I wanted to share that behind the scenes look.
Yeah, it was just one thing to recount all the different occurrences that happened during your tenure. I mean, truly amazing that one elected leader went through all of those things, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But who did you really want to write this book for exactly?
I wanted to write for just regular people that live in our community and frankly that live in cities across the country. There were almost 50 mayors that wrote recommendations for this book that are in the book, because the challenges that we faced in Austin, real similar to the challenges that cities and mayors faced across the country. And a lot of times what happens in city government is a mystery. And certainly the policies that get debated in today's partisan and political climate become almost caricatures of those policies. Hard to recognize what they're really about and what's really going on. I just wanted to share to my neighbors and members of the community what I think those 8 years looked like.
Yeah, one word that came up a lot in your book and it stuck out to me is trust. You particularly talk about how that is a dilemma right now, especially for your fellow Democrats. I'm wondering if you could share your thoughts about why that may be exactly.
I think that the service for 8 years pointed out more than anything else that trust pretty much drives everything, how people see their local government, how people see policies, how people are willing to read and interpret events. And it's really important. In today's world, we're finding that people have less and less faith in the institutions of government, in community, and it's a crisis in our country right now. This absence of trust. I think it's more than just Democrats. I think it's Democrats and Republicans, and we have to find our way back.
I would imagine that some may question about effectively talking about trust because of that trip that you took to Mexico back in 2020. And I know that you apologized for that and took accountability for it, especially after asking people to stay at home at that time. But what do you say to somebody who might question and say that that was an example of a politician saying one thing and doing another?
Well, certainly that instance was something that I regretted doing the way that I did it. I left on that trip when there was no reason in our city not to, and we weren't telling people not to take trips. But when conditions changed and I was on the road and I went back to the community and pointed that out, I also was pointing out to the community that I was being able to enjoy something at that moment that many people couldn't, and I think that did have an impact on trust. And certainly it was a hard lesson for me to go through, for the community to go through. Uh, and I think you try to learn from mistakes. You try to learn from opportunities to have done things better. And in the book, I discuss many things that I wish I had done better. Many things that went, I think, really well. I tried to make the book as honest as I could.
Yeah, and touching on so many different topics, including homelessness. In the book, you criticized Austin's current mayor, Kirk Watson, for his approach to addressing homelessness, at least coming back into office. So I'm curious, in your own experience and what you went through during your time, how you think the city is faring right now in addressing homelessness.
Homelessness is a difficult challenge. There are not many cities around the country that are doing it well. In Austin, our homeless count was continuing to increase, and not only was it increasing, but we had no answer for it in our community. And when you looked at other cities that were dealing with the same thing without answers, like Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and LA, the lesson for our city is that we needed to do better. We needed to put together a comprehensive program. So we pushed for that, and we were able to initiate that. We increased the number of permanent supportive housing tenfold in the time that I and the council were in office. And those were good things. And I think you need to keep that push going on, because if you don't, then the numbers grow, people are hidden. And my fear is that in our community, we're going back to the place where we still have large numbers of people without homes, but because we don't have good answers, because we're not filling the pipeline, we're having more and more people hide. And the experience from those other cities tell us that we'll feel we won't notice the challenge when it's hidden until it can't be hidden anymore. And when that bursts at the seam, it's too late to really do anything about it. And I hope we do better.
Yeah, that was one thing that jumped out in your book as well about saying that the council pursued that decriminalizing homelessness here in the city, and yet there was that ballot initiative that reversed that, and yet you were kind of pointing out that this in a way was able to highlight the problem despite both of those things happening.
I think it did, and I think, quite frankly, bringing attention to the challenge was something that was really constructive for our community, because it enabled us to get the political will to really start doing things about it. That's why we were able to increase the permanent supportive housing. But I also point out that in hindsight or retrospect, if we had to do it again, I think we would still elevate the challenge, but we would do it in a way that did a better job of making sure that shared public spaces remained shared spaces, and not spaces that were taken over by any one group in our city. And we didn't do that, and that created a lot of angst in our community and a lot of pushback. That part of what we did, we could have done better.
Well, I want to ask you one more thing before we let you go. We appreciate you taking so much time with us this afternoon. What do you say to someone who sees all the scrutiny faced by you and other city leaders at the time, and some of the disinformation and misinformation that came along with it? You wrote about that beautifully, but what do you just say to someone who maybe feels discouraged about those experiences and not really wanting to run for public office in the future?
Well, I think the way that public officials, what they're undergoing at this point, is something that's going to make it so that a lot of really good people don't choose to dedicate themselves in that way, and that's a really unfortunate thing. I think as a larger community, we have to push past that. We have to make sure that the information we're getting is information that comes from a reliable source. We have to test what we're hearing from people. If we hear something that's just too outrageous to be true, we have to think